हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा।
November 10th or 10/11, a day that will live in infamy for the nation and especially for the residents of New Delhi. A deafening explosion tore through the air near the Red Fort metro station. A Hyundai i20 exploded and thus kick-starting a domino explosion of nearby vehicles, leaving behind 12 dead, 24 injured and a nation stunned. The nation, in fear and grief, wondered, was this a freak accident or an orchestrated attack? And if so, who could be behind this? Within hours, investigative agencies hinted at something chilling. Possible links to Jaish-e-Mohammed, Pakistan-based terror outfit long blamed for India's deadliest attacks. The name that surfaced, Dr. Umar Mohammad, a Pulwama-based doctor allegedly tied to a recently busted JEM module in Faridabad. Panic, smoke, fear, and a haunting question. Was this the first strike of revenge for Operation Sindoor, India's sweeping counter-terror crackdown earlier this year that broke the spine of JEM's networks? Or was it the desperate act of a cornered sleeper cell fighting to remain relevant? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. The blast came hours after a raid that had dismantled major terror networks stretching from Jammu to Haryana. Possible JEM operatives were arrested, thousands of kilograms of explosives seized, and key Jaish operatives captured alive. Then came the blast, timed too perfectly, too provocatively. The car, allegedly linked to a man from Pulwama. Timing, hours after module arrests. Target, Delhi's heart. Coincidence or message? Investigators suspect this wasn't random. It was retaliation, a statement from JEM's scattered operatives that the war wasn't over yet. Is this just a warning or the start of a longer, darker revenge campaign? It was 6:52 p.m., the evening rush hour. A sudden fireball erupted near Red Fort metro station, a Hyundai i20 turning into a moving inferno. Witnesses say the blast was so powerful that car parts were hurled across the street.
इस टाइम आवाज़ आई, धमाका हुआ तो मैं दुकान पे बैठा था। पीछे मेरी दुकान है, यहीं पे दुकान है, यहीं पे तो मैं चेयर पे बैठा हुआ था। एकदम से अचानक इतनी तेज धमाका हुआ कि मेरे लाइफ में इतनी तेज मैंने अपनी आवाज़ के भी नहीं सुना। धमाके के दहल पे मैं 3 बार गिरा हूँ, उठाऊँ फिर गिरा हूँ, उठा ऐसे धरती फटने वाला है। इतनी तेज धमाका हुई है, ठीक है। तो मैं दुकान छोड़ करके एकदम से भागा। मेरे साथ भी बहुत सारी पब्लिक भागी, एक पे एक पब्लिक गिर रही थी। उस टाइम ऐसा लग रहा था कि हम कुछ पल में दूसरा धमाका हुआ था, हम मरने वाले हैं। ऐसा लग रहा कि हमें बचने का चांस, ऐसा लग रहा कि मौत को मुंह से देख रहे हैं। इस तरह से नजारा था।
Shattered glass, burning tires, and chaos followed. Police later confirmed the explosive used was ANFO, ammonium nitrate fuel oil, a deadly mix often used in large-scale terror attacks. The death toll rose from 9 to 12 within hours, with over 20 people injured. Panic gripped Delhi. 7 fire tenders battled the blaze as ambulances rushed to LNJP and AIIMS Trauma Center. Within minutes, India's capital and bordering states were under high alert. Investigators found that this was a second-hand car which was driven by Umar Mohammad of Pulwama, a doctor reportedly linked to a JEM cell recently busted in Faridabad. Earlier forensic evidence hinted the blast might have been a suicide bombing, possibly triggered after Umar panicked over arrests of his JEM associates earlier that day. The investigation, however, is ongoing, with officials careful to use one word: suspected. Hours before the Red Fort blast, Delhi and J&K police had announced a major breakthrough: capture of a Jaish module operating out of Faridabad, barely 50 kilometers from Delhi. 2 doctors, Dr. Mujammil Shakil and Dr. Adil Rathar, were arrested with nearly 3,000 kilograms of explosive materials, including ammonium nitrate. Officials now suspect Umar Mohammad, another doctor from Pulwama, may have been the missing link, possibly tasked with executing a final revenge strike after his network's collapse. According to investigators, Omar's car was seen entering Delhi from Haryana earlier that day. But was he acting alone or following direct instructions from handlers across the border? That remains the core mystery haunting India's security agencies.
Because signs of what is happening, what signs of what this is happening were indicative of little things around the country from October post Pahalgam. It was all the little signals were always that they were awakening up because they could not take that and even after Afghanistan improvements of the country, the ROD, I think it's hurt them. So this was activated, and this is a white collar crime. Because these doctors are not supposed to be committing, be suicide bombers themselves, but others are. But I think I would think this is a white collar crime, but happened to be masterminded by these doctors, and these doctors were awakening sleeper cells to huge amount of money, which they were probably getting. The real challenge now before this is to check the ecosystem, because they could not have done it and I'm glad the Honorable Home Minister has directed them to find out who's the ecosystem, because the ecosystem is countrywide. Those sleeper cells are countrywide.
To understand the suspected motive, one must go back to April 22, 2025, when a horrific terror attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, claimed the lives of 26 civilians. The group behind it, the Resistance Front, was an offshoot of Lashkar-e-Toiba. But the Indian intelligence network quickly traced deeper roots, shared logistics and planning with Jaish-e-Mohammed. In response, India launched Operation Sindoor, a precise yet punishing counter-terror offensive in May of 2025. Over 4 days, India's military carried out coordinated missile and air strikes on 9 terror hubs in Pakistan's Punjab and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The aim was simple: dismantle the terror infrastructure without sparking a full-scale war. The strikes crippled JEM and Lashkar bases, warehouses, launch pads, training sites, all hit with precision. For the first time since Balakot, Pakistan's terror supply chain faced direct and sustained punishment. Over the last few weeks, India arrested multiple JEM operatives in domestic raids, including the Faridabad module. Operation Sindoor was seen as India's red line, but did it also sow the seeds of retaliation? History shows Jaish-e-Mohammed thrives on retaliation. From the 2001 Parliament attack to the 2019 Pulwama bombing, every blow against them has been followed by a counter-strike meant to project defiance. Operation Sindoor may have cornered the organization, but it didn't crush its ideology. The Faridabad bust, the arrests, the seizures, they weren't just tactical hits. They were personal humiliations for JEM's handlers across the border. Security officials suspect the Red Fort blast fits this familiar template: strike hard, shock symbolically, and remind India that JEM is far from finished. The timing, hours after key arrests, mirrors the group's revenge-driven operational pattern. Target: Delhi's Red Fort, an emblem of sovereignty, screams symbolism. But was Umar Mohammad truly following orders from JEM's leadership? Or did panic and desperation push him into a reckless act that ended in self-destruction? The Red Fort isn't just a monument. It's India's heart, the place where every Independence Day the tricolour is hoisted by the Prime Minister when he addresses the nation. To attack near it is to stab at India's pride. That's what makes the suspected strike so chilling. Investigators believe the site wasn't chosen randomly. It was meant to send a message that India's most secure, most sacred spaces can still be breached. JEM, which thrives on spectacle and fear, has often chosen symbolic targets: parliament, military bases, security convoys. A blast at the Red Fort area fits its modus operandi. The psychological warfare matters as much as the physical damage. And yet, this time, the suspect wasn't a battle-hardened militant, but a doctor. Why would an educated man turn his car into a bomb? Indoctrination, fear, revenge, or something darker still? Operation Sindoor was a calculated display of India's strategic strength, a campaign of limited strikes under the nuclear threshold. But it also sent shockwaves through Pakistan's militant ecosystem. Intelligence intercepts since May 2025 have hinted at growing frustration within JEM and LET circles, their commanders vowing revenge at a time and place of their choosing. The Red Fort blast, investigators suspect, could be that moment.
फिर कल आदम के नारे लगाकर भागने वालों, हमसे पीछा छुड़ाने वालों, अगर नबी की उम्मती हो तो याद रखो, इश्क मुस्तफा और इश्क सहाबा के दावेदार हो तो याद रखो कि ये जिहाद क़यामत की सुबह तक जारी रहेगा। अगर तुम्हें जिहाद से एलर्जी है तो इस उम्मत में एक और मुस्तकिल हर दौर में एक मसूद अजहर पैदा होता रहेगा। उस वक्त तक होगा यहां तक कि तुम अपने आसाब को, अपने दिमाग को, अपने नजरियात को, अपने जिस्मों को नबी के तरीके पर जिहाद पे नहीं आएगा।
By targeting Delhi, far from the borders, the attackers wanted to prove that India's internal shield still has cracks. The fact that a terror module could operate within the NCR despite heightened surveillance raises serious questions. Did the Faridabad module have deeper urban networks? Were sleeper cells already planted months before Operation Sindoor? If proven, this would mean JEM wasn't reacting to the operation, it was preparing for it. A retaliatory strike months in the making, meant to coincide with India's post-Sindoor complacency. As of now, everything remains in the realm of suspect, not confirmed. The NIA has taken over the case and is currently combing through over 100 CCTV clips, tracing the car's movements and analyzing chemical residues from the blast. The UAPA, that is Unlawful Activities and Prevention Act, and the Explosives Act have been invoked and multiple suspects detained. DNA tests are underway to confirm if the charred remains at the site belong to Umar Mohammad. Investigators are probing whether this was a one-man act or part of a coordinated plan. Was Umar the bomber or just the courier? Were the explosives in his car linked to the Faridabad cache? Forensic matches may soon tell. For now, India watches and waits because the truth behind the Red Fort blast could either reveal a lone panic strike or expose the rebirth of an organized terror network with international reach. What happens to India's new doctrine that an act of terror is an act of war then? Government of India's response has been swift and stern. Home Minister Amit Shah visited the site, vowing that no conspirator will escape.
देखिए, हम सभी एंगल्स को ओपन रखकर सभी दृष्टि से जांच कर रहे हैं। घटना किस कारण से हुई, ये अभी कहना बहुत मुश्किल है। जब तक विस्फोट के स्पॉट पर से जो स्पेसिमेंस मिलेंगे, इसका जब तक एफएसएल का एनालिसिस, एनएसजी का एनालिसिस नहीं होता, इसके बारे में कुछ भी कहना दिक्कत है। मगर हम किसी भी एंगल को बंद नहीं मानते हैं। सभी एंगल का हम दृढ़ता के साथ आगे।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, speaking from Bhutan, assured the nation that those behind this cowardice will face India's resolve. Security across Delhi, Haryana and Jammu has been tightened.
इस महत्वपूर्ण अवसर पर शामिल होना भारत का और मेरा कमिटमेंट था, लेकिन आज मैं यहां बहुत भारी मन से आया हूं। कल शाम दिल्ली में हुई भयावह घटना ने सभी के मन को व्यथित कर दिया है। मैं पीड़ित परिवारों का दुख समझता हूं। आज पूरा देश उनके साथ खड़ा है। मैं कल रात भर इस घटना की जांच में जुटी सभी एजेंसियों के साथ, सभी महत्वपूर्ण लोगों के साथ संपर्क में था, विचार विमर्श चलता था, जानकारियों के तार जोड़े जा रहे थे। हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
Jaish-e-Mohammed's hallmark has always been adaptability. When its cross-border infiltration routes were cut, it moved to hybrid networks within India. When security forces clamped down in Kashmir, it built urban sleeper cells in Haryana, Punjab and Delhi NCR. The Faridabad cell was one such example. Educated operatives, professional covers and covert logistical chains. Experts say JEM's strategy is psychological, bleed by 1,000 cuts, through unpredictable, symbolic attacks that create panic rather than prolonged conflict. The Red Fort blast, if indeed their doing, fits this doctrine perfectly. But there's another layer. JEM's leadership reportedly feels humiliated after Operation Sindoor exposed its links to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and those bases in POK. Retaliation, therefore, isn't just operational, it is reputational. Every explosion, every headline is their way of saying, we still exist. But can India's security forces let them have the last word? The blast also has links to JEM's newly formed women's wing, Jamaat-ul-Muminat. Police sources say Masood Azhar, sister-in-law of JEM chief Masood Azhar, leads the women's unit responsible for recruitment and indoctrination. Investigations point to two key connections, one through the terror module that executed the blast and another through Shahina Shahid, a Faridabad-based doctor allegedly heading JEM's women's wing in India. The arrests of Shahid and Dr. Mujamil Shakil highlight JEM's evolving strategy of exploiting educated professionals for terror operations. But this cycle of strike and counter-strike is dangerously familiar. For every Pahalgam or Pulwama, there comes a Balakot or Sindoor. For every Sindoor, perhaps a Delhi blast. The question is, can this cycle ever end? Or has terrorism become the permanent language of a shadow war that refuses to die, fought between borders, proxies, and politics? In the streets of Delhi, fear has mixed with fatigue. From Parliament to Pulwama, India has endured too many reminders of its vulnerability. Who ordered the attack? Was it a command from across the border or a rogue act born of panic? Did Umar Mohammad intend to die or was the explosion accidental? And most crucially, how deep do JEM's networks run within India's urban centers? The investigators have promised answers, but every clue leads to another layer of complexity. As one senior officer put it, this wasn't just a bomb, it was a message. And yet, until forensic and intelligence evidence confirm the links, all remains in the realm of alleged, not proven. Still, the pattern, the timing, the target, everything points to one haunting possibility. Operation Sindoor may have lit a fuse of vengeance still burning in the shadows. The Delhi Red Fort blast is more than just an act of terror. It's a chilling reminder that every counter-terror victory comes with a price. Operation Sindoor broke Jaish-e-Mohammed's networks, humiliated its planners, and restored India's confidence. But it may also have provoked the desperate backlash of a wounded organization seeking relevance through chaos. If this was indeed JeM's revenge, it wasn't just about retaliation, it was psychological warfare designed to shake the nation's morale and challenge the narrative of security after Sindoor. Yet, even amid tragedy, India's response has been measured, unified and resolute. Post-Pahalgam, New Delhi's new doctrine has been an act of terror is an act of war. Jaish-e-Mohammed for now has been named, but not Pakistan. Given Pakistan's history, what if our neighbor is found involved in this terror plot as well? What if Pakistan is named as the conspirator? Will India then go to war with Islamabad yet again? The investigation will eventually reveal the truth, whether Umar Mohammad acted alone, whether JeM's hand was real or symbolic. But one thing is clear, the war against terror doesn't end with an operation, it only changes form. Thank you for watching Statecraft.